Welcome to the deep dive. You know how we do it. We take sources, pull out the key insights, and bring them straight to you.
Exactly.
Today, we're doing a really interesting deep dive. We're looking at excerpts from a YouTube transcript. And this is from a major address by former President Trump given during an Independence Day celebration.
Right. And our mission today really is to kind of navigate the main claims, the policy points, the overall message.
Yeah.
We want to give you a clear, concise understanding of the perspective laid out in this source material. It's a fascinating look at how this specific moment was framed.
Okay, so let's get into it. The address kicked off with quite a bit of pomp and ceremony, very patriotic tone right away.
It did. You had Master Gunnery Sergeant Kevin Banier, the president's own United States Marine Band, starting with the national anthem.
And then almost immediately it shifted.
Yeah, shifted right into this spectacular display of American power. That was the phrase.
Which involved what exactly?
A flyover. A B-2 Spirit bomber from Whiteman Air Force Base with 2 F-35 fighters alongside it.
Wow.
And the speaker made it clear why. It was stated to be in honor of personnel from Operation Midnight Hammer and also, troops serving worldwide, protecting freedom.
And the reaction from the speaker in the address sounded immediate.
Very immediate, strong. Called it some sight, an incredible mission, and then this claim that the country is more proud right now than it's been in many, many years.
That really sets the stage, doesn't it? So how did the speaker then connect that feeling, that claimed pride, to things like the military and the economy later on?
Well, that sense of pride, or maybe revitalized pride, was tied directly to this narrative about the military's resurgence.
Oh, so.
The claim was that joining the military is now the most sought-after job, enlistment at an all-time record.
Okay.
And this was put in sharp contrast to 1 year ago. According to the speaker, back then people didn't want to join our military.
Yeah.
Or even police or firefighters.
So a clear before and after picture being painted there?
Exactly. Attributing this revitalized state to the current leadership, it's a powerful rhetorical move.
Right. And this brings us to something mentioned earlier, Operation Midnight Hammer. This sounded like a really central piece.
It absolutely was presented that way. Described as one of the most successful military strikes in all of history. Even called a hammer.
A hammer. And it sounds like this specific operation was highlighted as a major success under this leadership.
Very much so. And to underscore it, 150 airmen and their families from Whiteman Air Force Base, the base involved, were there as honored guests.
So what details were given about the operation itself? What made it so successful, according to the speech?
The picture painted was one of, absolute success. Unprecedented, really. Phrases like flawless mission, every single bomb hit, leading to total obliteration.
Total obliteration, strong words.
Gary, and a big emphasis on the stealth tech. The B-2 bombers apparently flew right over the center of a very hostile country, unseen, and crucially no losses. No planes, no personnel.
And that was contrasted with other incidents.
Explicitly, yes. Contrasted with things like helicopters crashing in the past or hostage situations in Iraq. The goal was clearly to highlight this as exceptionally successful, different from before.
Got it. And then the claim that even the fake news admitted its success.
Right. That was sort of the clincher in the narrative, the implication being it was so undeniable, even critics couldn't ignore it.
Okay. And looking forward from that specific operation, what was the future vision for the military?
Well, a strong commitment to rebuild our military, to modernize and remodernize.
And this included that great Golden Dome idea.
Yes, the great Golden Dome all over our land for defense.
What exactly is that meant to be? How was it positioned?
It was positioned as superior to existing systems, like Israel's Iron Dome, suggests something more expansive, maybe futuristic, a national missile defense shield, perhaps. It's like a significant rhetorical step up in defensive capability claims.
Interesting. And the Space Force got a mention, too.
It did, yes. Affectionately, you could say. Called a very invaluable force. And then that line, we're the ones that did it.
Right. Taking ownership.
Highlighting ownership over what's presented as a major strategic asset.
Okay. So after laying out this narrative of military strength and resurgence, the focus shifted.
Yes. Pivoted quite sharply to the economy and America's standing in the world, linking these successes back to the same leadership style.
And a key point here was NATO.
The claim was that NATO allies had agreed to put up over $1 trillion a year, increasing their share from less than 2% to 5%.
How does that fit into the sort of bigger picture of foreign relations presented?
Well, it points to this perceived shift, in global dynamics, financial responsibility. And the speaker backed this up by saying respected people, leaders from around the world had told him
Told him what?
that, quote, 1 year ago your country was dead and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Wow, okay. So framing the economic turnaround as globally recognized.
Exactly. A sign of restored American strength and deterrence. Respect on the world stage again. That was the message.
So moving specifically to the economic claims within the U.S., some big numbers were mentioned.
Very big numbers.
Yeah.
The address claimed an influx of almost $15 trillion in investment.
15 trillion.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
And stock market and jobs, both stated to be at an all-time high.
And the time frame for this turnaround?
This is striking. The claim was less than 6 months.
Less than 6 months?
Yeah, emphasizing speed, reinforcing that idea of America being respected again, swiftly, undeniably.
Okay. So from these broad economic claims, the speech then zoomed in on something specific, right? This legislative achievement.
That's right. Dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill, presented as this singular major win, consolidating lots of policy promises.
What made it the greatest victory yet, according to the speaker?
Well, the claim was it rolled everything up. What was supposedly planned for, 3, 4, maybe up to 7 different bills, all into one, making it the biggest bill of its type in history.
And the stated goal?
To make people so happy, taking care of the military and civilians of all types, jobs of all types, suggesting a really broad positive impact.
Okay, so what was actually in this big, beautiful bill? Especially on taxes. That seemed like a focus.
Huge focus.
Yeah.
Touted as delivering the largest tax cut in the history of our country. And made permanent.
Permanent. And specific cuts.
Yes. Things like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Those were highlighted.
What about families?
The child tax credit, stated to be made permanent for 40 million American families.
There was also something interesting about cars, right? An affordability measure.
Yeah, that was an interesting detail, allowing the deduction of interest on new car payments for income tax.
But there was a catch.
A very specific one. Only if the car is made in America.
Ah, okay. Tying into that economic nationalism theme.
Absolutely. And the bill also aimed to get rid of the death tax,
Yeah.
the estate tax, specifically framed as protecting 2 million family farms and other small businesses.
What about manufacturing? Any boosts for that sector in the bill?
Big promises there. Things like 100% expensing for new investments, cutting taxes for manufacturers.
And the expected outcome.
The claim was hundreds of factories, including car plants, even AI facilities, coming into the country as a result.
And on the flip side, spending.
It claimed the largest spending cut, $1.7 trillion, attributed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse.
Okay, so tax cuts, manufacturing incentives, spending cuts, and border security was in there too.
A major component, yes. Described as the largest border security investment in American history.
And the claims about crossings.
This is stark. The speaker claimed that in the previous month, 0 people crossed our border illegally. 0.
0. And how was that contrasted with the past?
Sharply. Contrasted with the previous administration, which allegedly let in 21 million people, many described as being from gangs, prisons, drug lords, mentally unbalanced. And the speech mentioned an ongoing effort to remove them at record numbers.
Quite the contrast presented. The speech also touched on energy policy, coal versus wind.
It did. Promoted clean, beautiful coal, while criticizing wind power pretty heavily.
How so?
Called it very weak and very expensive, and notably claimed it was all made in China.
Ah.
And even added an observation about, never seeing wind farms in China, despite China apparently making most of the turbines, highlighting a perceived inconsistency.
Right. Okay, so shifting gears a bit to the more political context, the speaker talked about a mandate from the election.
Yes, reiterated claims of a historic mandate from the previous November election.
What were the specifics claimed?
Assertions of winning all 7 swing states, the popular vote, and a huge majority of districts, something like 2750 to 505, all red.
And that theme of promises made, promises kept.
Ran throughout the whole address, yes. Kind of a unifying thread for all these claimed achievements.
And then there was criticism directed at Democrats. Pretty direct criticism.
Very direct.
Yeah.
The claim was Democrats didn't vote for tax cuts or for taking care of people.
And the reason given for that opposition?
Attributed directly to hatred of either the country or me or both.
Okay. And how were negative responses from Democrats characterized?
As a con job.
Yeah.
Compared directly to things like Russia, 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 and the laptop from hell narratives, which, the speaker asserted, were proven out to be a fake job.
So framing criticism as baseless and politically motivated.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Portraying it as lacking any real substance.
This really gets into how political narratives are built and countered, doesn't it? Did the speaker describe a sort of typical Democratic response?
Yes, described a standard line from Democrats. Things like, we can't let him get away with it, it's dangerous, everybody's going to die.
Then the counter.
The speaker asserted it was just the opposite, that his actions were actually beneficial, not harmful.
And this tied back into calls for
Strong borders and fair elections, that was emphasized, with a promise to make sure elections are not rigged or sullied. Connecting those legislative claims back to broader ideas about governance?
Got it. Now, toward the end of the address, there was a long list of thank yous.
Remarkably long, yes. Went way beyond just, family or the event organizers.
Who is included?
Well, First Lady Melania Trump, of course, National Park Service, USO, but then a whole host of members of Congress.
Like who?
Vice President Jay Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Leader John Thune, House Leader Steve Scalise, with a specific mention of his recovery.
Right, I remember that detail.
Then House Whip Tom Emmer, Senate Whip John Barrasso, Finance Chair Mike Crapo, Budget Chair Lindsey Graham, Ways and Means Chair Jason Smith, House Budget Chair Jody Arrington. I mean, it was extensive.
What's the significance of listing so many names?
Well, it really underscores the perceived breadth of support, doesn't it? Projects this sense of unity, of shared success around the legislative agenda being presented.
Makes sense. And then finally, looking ahead, the vision for the future sounded very optimistic.
Extremely optimistic. Talked about the strongest economy on Earth, strongest borders on Earth, a military that is unmatched.
This was framed as a golden age.
Exactly. Declared that the golden age of America is upon us, especially with the country nearing its 250th anniversary.
And the closing message.
Wrapped up with that overarching message, make America great again, claiming it's happening very fast. And then an invitation for everyone to enjoy the fireworks display.
So quite a journey through that address. We've touched on themes of national pride, military power, economic revival, that big legislative bill,
Yeah.
all presented through the speaker's very distinct perspective.
Yeah, and it's not just a list of policies, is it? It's a narrative, woven around strength, success, a clear vision, often, as we saw, framed as a sharp reversal of how things were before.
Absolutely. We've seen how certain rhetorical tools get used, those stark contrasts, the claims of unprecedented success, framing big legislation as this single sweeping victory, all designed to define a moment and build support. So perhaps thinking about those strategies, how they work, how they're deployed, might help you analyze other speeches or political messages you come across. What parts of this address stand out most to you, and what questions does it leave you with about, say, national identity or economic policy or America's place in the world?
Lots to think about there.
Definitely. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and maybe sparked some new questions to explore.